Okay, we're back live. One thing I noticed as an Asperger adult, that I know quite a few was it Asperger adults who are into was it uh, have unusual special interests. That uh, I myself was it uh, love to watch anime, and I do read Japanese anime, and I also read Japanese manga. Is it online? I have the Hulu was it uh, video streaming service. That I subscribe to, and I watch an awful lot of Japanese anime. Also, was it that other Asperger adults can be into with it things like Star Trek, astronomy, history. Was it another Asperger guy I know was it Brandon. Is it he's a good friend who lives in.
We're not all just STEM, clustered in the science and technology, engineering, math areas. I mean, there are artists like myself.
Yeah, the
I mean,
people in
I
the
have
arts.
a great love of technology and all things, things technical, but as they apply to art, I do film. I pot around with filmmaking. I have a YouTube channel. I love underground and independent cinema. I love electronic dance music and the entire EDM scene. Everybody has their special interest. They just they dig into.
Yeah, that others, as I said, one of my Asperger friends was it. Uh, well, I just want to say was it. He's into like military and police. Another was that I said that uh, others are into was it very odd interests like was it locks and locksmithing. Which could but eventually become a career. That also was it. Uh, said people interested in astronomy or doing or interested in was it construction equipment or you know you name it. Was it there is an Asperger autistic adult or even teenager who's into it.
I think ever since college, my major special interest has been typography, fonts, words.
Yeah.
Actually, Woody's looking on my shoulder at my computer. I've got some logos I'm working on. Maybe we'll talk about that a bit later. But I think what keeps me going is all the spatial relations between letters and making them look right.
Yeah. Of course, with the other day, as I really started taking to, really get myself back into another one of my old special interests, like the mathematics of electromagnetic fields. I'm no math paragon, because I barely passed with a applied differential equations with it back in college.
I barely survived algebra 2.
Yeah.
So don't feel bad.
That also with it, not all of us Aspies was it good math skills.
Some were more verbal. I, I did. I forget what my math score or my SED was, but my verbal was at least 50 points. higher than my math. Um, I'm a good writer. Um, I'm an artist. I'm a what am I saying right now? An articulate person. I love words. I love communicating.
Yeah, the that of course was it the field that I chose was it and was it became was it went out to work in with electronics. It was all like applied mathematics, and some of us Asperger adults was it was it can't calculate worth a darn. That I know some Aspies. I do personally know a couple of Aspies who are very very math challenged, but who are was a mega verbal. That it's also with it when it comes to with it.
I had a lawyer on the spectrum.
Yeah,
Totally set up my Aspie dog. Bing, bing, on the first meeting. And the guy's brilliant for that particular area of law. I think being on the spectrum and knowing all the nuances of case law. I was working with a copyright attorney, and that can be some pretty tricky stuff because if you apply the wrong law or wrong application of the law, then you can get sued, and it's just something way beyond what I can comprehend.
yeah.
Guys,
Well,
guy's really sharp.
One of my Asperger friends was it a blank blank Esquire, who is a lawyer who specializes in family and disability rights, disability law. That was also with it. Not all persons with Asperger's was it go for it. Said technical fields with it. Others said just mention one person who's I believe the person's really was a transgender, but that who's a lawyer, who's a Massachusetts Bar Association certified lawyer. Another one that I know is a person with Asperger's. I know is a certified, who has a degree in nursing, but who was at works for a agency that where she goes out and does home health care. Is it out in the community. Was it elderly and disabled clients.
There are a lot of artists, musicians, and Andy Warhol. Some strange reason, and you're not confirmed as being on the spectrum, but there is something about his mannerisms that
The
just
Scream was it?
Yeah.
Scream.
I mean,
was
just the way he
autism.
did his artwork, the repetitiveness of, and he always stayed within select themes and subjects.
Yes. It's also that, that also that there's some, that on the autism spectrum you have, Asperger's, that Sir Anthony Hopkins, that British actor, that
Gary
he is
Newman.
certified as on the he is officially diagnosed as having Asperger's syndrome.
So again, so isn't Gary Newman, who had the '80s hit Cars.
Yeah. And also that comedian actor Dan Aykroyd. That and I also know was it a that I do know PhD mathematician, that
Smart.
lady, well, who's 2 years older than I am. She's like 62 years old now, was it? And well, on the who has Asperger's syndrome, was it that you know that you know that you know she does great with abstract mathematics with it, but she can't was it balance her bleeping checkbook worth a darn. That on whatever was it salary she makes as like a high school, was it or was it like was it junior college, was it was an instructor. And also with it there are differences in us Asperger Asperger adults, and was it or Asperger was it teens and children, male and female differences. One thing I've known was that that some of them, many of the Asperger women that I've known, that I do know, was that many of them was it like drama queens. Was it emotionally, it could be with it emotionally massively immature. Was it like I've had was it an Asperger woman, was it take a fit at me, was it earlier this last summer, was it was it over really nothing at all, was it it wasn't face to face, it was it via was it cell phone text, that. And also, was it like my younger brother has dated a Asperger woman. The particular Asperger woman that I know was a PhD mathematician, and like was it when she's was it was it stressed out, she acts more like the woman instead of being like age 62. She acts more like she's like 10 to 12 years old, when she's in a meltdown mode. And I said, many of us on the spectrum also do have meltdowns.
I had a terrible one, 3 weeks ago? I mean, I was just, I think it was like frustration. I forget what happened on that Friday, but things were broken at home. Let's put it that way.
What usually sets off
Yeah,
what usually sets off meltdowns as persons on the autism spectrum, no matter what functional level, was it those of us who are like Doug and I, who are verbal,
I had a good
or people
6-month stretch.
or those who are on the spectrum who are non-verbal. Was it was it sensory issues, or was it having to deal with the social demands, which we don't understand, or we cannot, or that we cannot meet, with it,
I mean, just
with social expectations.
just extremely overwhelmed with, emotionally overwhelmed with stuff going on in my life. Plus, I was struggling through some creative blocks. I haven't uploaded anything on my YouTube in 2 months because long story, big. I won't. Basically, it's this time of year, the depression kind of gets harder to deal with, and I when well, I'm really depressed, I don't make videos. I just
Yeah.
don't upload because it just comes across. I get people hit the unsub button on my channel really quick.
Yeah.
I'm grumpy and unhappy.
And of course, many of us on the autism spectrum, that we need to have was like places where we can just simply go off by ourselves and just with it de-escalate, without having, as it where we can take was it just work things out for ourselves, was it? And of course, was it also too, was it many of us persons on the autism spectrum, we do have was it issues with it, just like any other was it person who's neurotypical, with those are what I call people who are not on the autism spectrum, and like we've two of us have a mutual friend who's gone off the rails, was it emotionally and in many other ways, was it turned into a real mega bigot, was it, and who's really burned a lot of his bridges, was it, was it, who also got himself, was it thrown in a paddy wagon, and hauled down to the police station, down in Cambridge, Massachusetts.
There's a lot of drama going on with him.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of drama,
I think he definitely crossed the line, and with a
bunch of people.
Yeah, with DRR, and I know how much I feel about what my past friendship with DRR was, but still, nobody deserves to be have hate speech directed at them.
Yeah, like our mutual friend, that.
Not really. I mean,
well,
I barely knew him.
Yeah, well, a mutual acquaintance, that.
Yeah.
Who we worked with him with it on, creating and trying to run a non-profit. Another one that Asperger, that we know was it turned into a real racist, was it, used the K word for a person of Jewish faith, it was not good. And the same person also used
DRR, despite his, my personal issues with him, he's a decent guy.
Yeah. Yeah, decent guy, and with it.
When he's not, when he's surrounded by, the right people.
Yeah. And also with it, that we do also have this major issue too, was it's going around in the outside world, where like racism is rearing its ugly head, big time. Anti-Semitism, homophobia, Islamophobia. I have friends in the disability community, who are Muslims, and who are like, scared to death of what's going on in this country right now.
The ableism is much more palpable these days.
Yeah, and we even had our president was taken and when he was campaigning before he got elected, was it trashing a disabled person openly on camera. You never had that before, as it in, especially in the public square, the political public square. You never had, was it screaming dog whistles, if you know what I mean, was it Was it racist dog whistles, was it, code words, was it homophobic slurs, the whole 9 yards. And was it I'll also note that, that both of us friends here, with it, Doug and I, we also have acquaintances in the autism Asperger community in this central New England region.
Well, I'm principal organizer of the Boston area Asperger's meetup. So I mean, the word gets around. I mean, people show up for the when I was doing the monthly breakfast club, and the word gets around. Who's the douchebag in the community, and who's
yeah,
the
that's
awesome,
right.
Who's the awesome bro?
Yeah, who's the douche, who's being a douchebag? Being a nasty little was it son of a bitch, or who's really who's in good standing? Because was it number two, was it with the way we have, was it instant communication like now, with was it YouTube, was it Twitter, Reddit, and other, was it social media platforms, was it was it gets around at like the speed of light, not just in this area but across the whole darn planet. It's about is it just who's being the who's good, who's not good, is it? And lots of times it's not rumor, and lots of times it ends up being with it the real thing. And of course, online you have to have to be able to discern what is.
You gotta do your due diligence, and
Yeah.
What is the other thing we're having?
What is fact and what's fantasy?
Well, we live in a day and age of internet outrage. People just fly off the handle based upon somebody just accusing somebody of something unflattering, and there'll be just pitchforks and torches going after somebody, and it's kind of sad we live in that day and age.
Yeah, it used to be, and people say that we autistics, whether we who are verbal on the upper end of the spectrum, or those who are the non-verbal on the lower end of the spectrum, that we don't know how to communicate. We do communicate, and was it, number two, was it, people are down nowadays with it, we got this, was it online stuff, was it, means of communication, different social media platforms with it, social networking platforms, and people are doing stuff that they would never ever do, was it, when you was it sitting sitting this close and face to face, because you don't want to have somebody with it actually really with it, because in the old days, if you was it, I called somebody a such and such, that, and I was face to face with him or her, that I get a fist in the face, or I get a backhand in the face, or get a good shove. But nowadays, with the people, where they just go, or with it going off with it and spewing all kinds of shit, and just with it, and they know that the person just can't get back at them, with it directly.
Yeah, I mean, somebody I've had. Why don't we take a moment? Super chat. Let's take a moment. Anybody out there? Any questions? Anything you want to talk about? We'll pause for a minute too for super chat.
Yeah.
I guess nothing so far, but
That's all right.
moving on. If you
If people see this, whether that if you
hit the
guys
super
see
chat,
this later, give us
like, comment, subscribe. You know how
Yeah.
quick I was for that?
yeah.
Like, comment, it's just
Yeah.
it's muscle memory now after a year of YouTubing.
That said with it.
Hit that bell, smash it. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
Anyways,
So then, anyways, Doug and I have known each other for years.
yeah, when we were, I was kind of early on with Asperger work, so it was sort of helping get the thing off the ground.
Get the kickstart, off the ground.
Bang.
Then I came in, with it bring some try to bring some was it my experience, and with it also was it the fact that that as a person on the Asperger autism spectrum, was it I have many connections in the Asperger syndrome and autism disability community, and I also have connections in the cerebral palsy community, and also with it there are many persons that I know in the cerebral palsy community who are also on the autism spectrum. Because I've got a young lady, who will be turning 20, who has both Asperger's autism and cerebral palsy. I know another one up in up in Maine. That was it not really officially diagnosed as Asperger's, but tell some aspects of it may be on the spectrum. Also with cerebral palsy, and I also was a connected with the cerebral palsy community, in was it Faisalabad, Pakistan, Japan, Australia, New Zealand, England, France, Germany. Although I haven't heard from a person in a long time, was that I did know an Estonian woman, that with Asperger's syndrome. I also got another with it, Asperger friend with over in Finland, a woman who's also was it blind, who does who's on Facebook, that I'm connected to. There's so many, and of course with the way there's the social media, that the internet has also changed the dynamic of living with disabilities, because now many people who never had a voice, now have a voice, and many people on the autism spectrum, even though those of us who are really verbal, we use the internet, that social media as a major means of communicating our thoughts, our feelings, and also sharing our lives, with the rest of the world and with others who are like us.
Which resources did you start out on as far as online support resource?
Online?
Yeah.
Originally ended up with Autism Speaks, which is more into the eugenically trying to eliminate autism out of the gene pool.
Because
then I found the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network, founded by Ari Neiman.
So I was on InLive, which was Margine Decker's listserv back in the day.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I was kind.
He's over.
I was
He's,
kind of friendly.
he's over in
at
the
the time.
Netherlands.
Yeah, I actually met him a few times.
I've met him. I met him at Autry, a number of years ago. I've also met Ari Neiman, who's the one of the founders of the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network. And Ari Neiman himself, he was on the for 8 years, in the administration of Barack Obama, he was on the National Council on Disability, the President's National Council on Disability, in the Obama administration. And he was immediately fired out by, our president, to get him out of the way for being too outspoken. There was also some issue with anti-Semitism directed against Ari Neiman too.
Well, I mean, oh, camera died. Mine did.
Yeah, and also with
what happened?
Then I found with the Asperger Autism Network, which used to be known as the Asperger's Association of New England. I started going to their yearly fall conferences. Of course, it costs money to go to the fall conferences. And I have met people. Guest speakers like Dr. Tony Atwood, from Brisbane, Australia, who's a world-leading authority on Asperger's and autism, and also Dr. Temple Grandin.
Whatever happened to Autry? I know you went. I didn't go because I was up to my eyeballs with stuff at Asperger Works.
Yeah.
Too busy to go.
I went. Autry was founded by the Autistic Self-Advocate and
It was Jim Sinclair.
Jim Sinclair from the Syracuse University of Syracuse out in New York, upstate New York. He'd been running it for a number of years, and I started going to it in 2010. I first went to Autry with my Asperger autism friend Sarah Willig, who lives in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Then in 2011 went with Sarah and the other person that I know within the
DR.
Kevin Barrett.
Oh.
That he's in other words an autistic self-advocate whom I know. That I know was he did all the driving, and I did the navigating and the and whatever, and we had Sarah Willig in the back seat, in 2011 with her autism service dog Hamish. That's another subject all on itself. Service animals for
that whole thing ended badly.
What?
Autry ended badly.
Yeah, it ended badly in 2013.
And Jim got the shit end of the stick.
Yeah, Jim Sinclair.
He went off the
had
grid.
nothing to do with Jim Sinclair.
He's totally off the grid.
Yeah, he totally disappeared off the net. That nobody knows what's happened to him. But Jim has his own issues with his autistic, physically disabled, and also is part of the LGBT and intersex community and subculture. And it's like, he got burned out.
What's out there to replace it?
Yeah, they got a new organization. They did have a meetup this past summer, but they didn't have the money to go. Number two was that our treat was kind of expensive. Just to register with it, and for a person like me, it would be like $400 something bucks. And of course it was staying like a college dorm, was it an occupied college dorm, during the summer, that for a few days, during the meetup and conference, and on too was that our treat was also out in the middle of nowhere, was it. In 2010, our treat was held at the University of Pittsburgh, Bradford, Pennsylvania campus. It was up toward the New York state line. Then in 2011 and 2012, it was held in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. Which was kind of out of the way, was it? Was it pretty far from, was it like public transportation, at the University of Pittsburgh's extension campus there for 2 years. Then in 2013 they had our treat was held at the campus of the University at California, Pennsylvania. That was, that was also out of the way. Was it had to take a shuttle bus from the Pittsburgh, the International Airport at Pittsburgh. That all the way southwest to California, Pennsylvania.
Why don't we do something like that in Boston area?
My idea of a good place to hold an autistic, is it retreat like our treat, would be like the Baker, and have people to be able to stay, that Baker Hall dormitory at Wentworth Institute in downtown in Boston, which is right diagonally across from the Boston Museum of Fine Arts, and the Green Line is right there. The E line of the Green Line. The E track.
A year ago, I announced on my channel that I was working on something similar, or the next art treat. And it's been ongoing for about a year, and I got you in on it fairly recently. And actually, I want you to take a look at some logos for this project, and
yeah,
I want to look at some logos and we'll announce it. And I just want to get your feedback on them.
Yeah, let's take. I already saw some of the logos. I was looking at it,
So you like the name Autistic Spear?
Yeah, that's good.
You do? Good.
Yes.
I like it. It's like a plant.
Yeah. But I like, that it's. I like this, with it, and.
Do you like that with the connected dots? Or
it looks like a molecule.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I like.
I like that too.
And I like to be able to we try to have our first one in like 2020.
That was the idea.
Yeah, that's gives us about almost 18 months to 2 years.
Well, good.
To take work out the details.
Which iteration did you? The one on the top here, or the one So here.
I like this one.
You like this one here?
Yes.
That's my favorite.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it. Official.
Yeah, because what's happening now, what's happened since the art treat disintegrated in 2013 is that many of the members, the people who used to go to it, or going their separate ways. And one person pretty much gone a separate way. That is Star Ford from New Mexico. She's a transgender. The person I know who's on the autism spectrum, and she has founded the Ocate Cliffs retreat center, and it is a autistic meetup place. It's out in the middle of nowhere, but still within reach of like a bus service, the shuttle bus services.
There was like different locations. I liked one that I spotted it on Cape Cod, which is it's a quick ride from Logan.
Yeah.
Which is the thing that Archie, you couldn't get from an airport to the venue easily.
Yeah.
At least you could get a bus or shuttle
Yeah.
from the airport.
Of course, the last art treat, that I went with, the 2013 one, which blew apart. It actually blew apart not for many reasons. There were personality conflicts. There was also a big row about the issue. There was supposed to be a panel on autism, gender, and sexuality. Sexuality and dating, as in relationships, but that got, thrown out the window just before Art Treat 2013 happened, because it devolved into like the straights versus the LGBT community within the autism community, of course. And then there were other issues and lastly the issue one woman who had epilepsy, who was out in like Washington State, who came to our tree, who has photosensitive epilepsy, and when the other a younger woman, with autism, while watching the TV, in the common area, on the first floor of the dorm building we were in, where we had the different dorm rooms to stay in, for the conference, that multi-day conference. And the two of them got into a major female autistic meltdown, screaming cat fight. They could hear even with the frickin' front door of the building closed. And then there was like finger pointing afterwards, after the conference, was online, and then just where everybody would just, it wasn't me, I did point out did make a comment at that time, please her, but just grow up. all adults, that and and there was some, of course, with the kids with their parents who had kids with autism who had their parents with them too, that this simply it just simply exploded into dumping onto poor Jim Sinclair, who was trying to hold this autism advocate community together. That, and then it's now being run by the successful organization now being run by Stan Provincial. I can't remember where he's from, but I think he's from Maryland or New York or whatever. I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up. I'd have to look it up later. But he's trying to pick up the pieces, and it's now been for like 5 years.
I think, something's got to fill the void.
Yeah, so that's right, Doug. Something has to fill the void, because the idea was that of Autry was to bring autistics of all ages, all ethnicities, all different sexual orientations and gender expressions, and the whole 9 yards and all different faiths and creeds together, just to celebrate autistic culture. And people think that we autistics do not have our own disability culture.
We absolutely do.
We do.
We have our own in-jokes, our own language. I laugh when I call it another person on the spectrum pedantic.
Yeah.
Which is, coming from the source. And it was just, there's all kinds of arts and all kinds of, people, YouTubers, there's an entire category of YouTubers.
And also with a chance for people like, people us on the spectrum, a bunch of us to get, a whole big bunch of us people on the autism spectrum to get together to share our interests, and also that they can share our interests, and also to share our passion for advocating for our civil rights.
Another thing I'm focusing on in my advocacy, self-advocacy, is the whole realm of the media and how we're portrayed. I think it's not getting better. I think we have to take matters into our own hands.
Yeah.
And I'm working on a project that
I
helps.
think they're going to try to portray the latest, what I call the MAGA bomber, they caught yesterday, who sent pipe bombs to two former presidents, former vice president, former head of the FBI, former head of national security, and also tried to send a pipe bomb to actor Robert De Niro, who's a very vocal critic of our president. That they're going to try to play the autism play the Asperger's card as a defense.
Ew.
Let's hope they do
I
not.
was thinking more like TV shows and movies. How the current state of affairs they're terrible. I mean, there's The Good Doctor that's on ABC running currently.
Yeah, but
it's a crap. I thought it was a crap show.
It's a crap show, and it's also
it's fake.
It's fake, and it's a stereotype. It's a
If anybody's seen my review,
it's really a negative stereotype.
if anybody's seen my review, that you know damn where I stand on The Good Doctor. I thought Atypical was a better show. Season 2 has got some got issues.
Yeah.
I think the character
And
development.
also with it, the Big Bang Theory, is another of it. With a
It doesn't.
sucky portrayal of people on this, or whether the guy was it Sheldon, whether it was Asperger, as a person with Asperger's syndrome or high functioning autism, and the spin-off that tried to spin off from that was that young Sheldon was even worse.
I think what we have to do is take matters into our own hands. We have means of the technology has gotten so good. I mean, we have the laptops, we have everything we need, and to make our own media that advocates for ourselves. If you're sitting out there and if you're complaining about the state of way autism is portrayed by the media, do something. Get off your seat. Pick up a phone. Write a script. Make your own media. Because that's the only way it's going to get better. Until when we start a trend through social media and through YouTube and other platforms, then Hollywood will take notice.
Yeah, and still Hollywood still has still with it having non-disabled actors portraying persons with disabilities.
I don't know. I'm going to take a different stance on that argument as a film director, because it's really picking an actor for a role it's really one of the most subjective things that you do in the early process of a show or movie. And sometimes you get somebody in that doesn't, on the surface, doesn't present as being on the spectrum, and they don't look autistic. Yet, you can pass them over because they just didn't, in the audition, didn't have the it factor, what you were looking for in the role. And that's kind of, I get a lot of flack in my Good Doctor review, the comment section, about it, because they didn't hire. But I went into detail in the comments that there's more to it, and the attitude that a producer or director could just pick out something that's on the spectrum. I think it's an ableist sentiment in its own right.
Yeah,
because nobody looks autistic. There's no autistic look.
There's no particular autistic. I'm quite verbal, that Doug is too with it, but I'm quite very impaired, with it, because I cannot read facial expressions or body language in other people at all. Even when I'm looking at my friend Doug here, is it because I can't read him.
Well, I'm pretty complex, but
yeah. And 90% of all communications, human communication, is nonverbal. And we got and of course it's still there's just simply so many the negative stereotypes about persons like us on the autism spectrum.
Hey, get a phone, start making your media. If you want to be the change that you want to see, and that's why I started a YouTube channel.
That's why I just wanted to do my own YouTube channel, just to kind of share what my life is like, with it living on the art, living as I do with it. My own experiences living on the autism spectrum, and also living with a milder form of cerebral palsy, even though now it is not really very mild, even though I can with it hobble across my bedroom here, is it, which I'm using, today as a makeshift, with it video studio. That I cannot go any long distances physically without using the lost strand crutches, or was it a quad walker, a folding quad walker, or was it I have out in the out in the living room, with it, the main part of our the manufactured home I share with my younger brother. My quad rollator walker. Because yesterday I used my quad rollator walker. Got it down the steps to my deck. That outside. Outside my front door. Then I took and hobbled all the way up to the dairy convenience store. Was it like a quarter-mile away, with it, and then, well, it's maybe a little less than a quarter-mile with it, but then hobbled back, with it, after buying a couple items, with it, just to have something to go with sandwiches, for supper. That. And there's I will note that was that as a person on the autism spectrum, I'm pretty independent, even though I no longer drive. That I still take care of my own finances. Doug does too.
Oh, we get super chat questions. Yeah, I think you should introduce me. Somebody just popped in on super chat and asking who I am. I think I need a proper introduction.
Yeah, this is my friend Doug Perry from Marlborough, Massachusetts. That I've known Doug for a few years. That
503, 508 represent.
Yeah, Doug is a friend I know through
I was a co-founder of Asperger Works, a co-founder in name only. I was there as sort of a venture an angel investor into the organization.
Yeah.
Blew half my inheritance. But it was a chance to get something off the ground that one of the only truly neurodiverse.
To attempt to change the dynamic of was it the issue, was it autism, Asperger's, and employment.
But it was to have a truly neurodiverse support organization in the New England area was so little that.
New Hampshire really doesn't have New Hampshire itself was it. Well, Doug's from Massachusetts, but I live here in New Hampshire, and it's like there's very little was it in the way of was it employment support services for adults who are on the upper end of the autism spectrum. That there are was it places like some sheltered workshops. That like there's the Goodwill. There's the Goodwill store. Was it? It's on the. It's on. Was it? The Route 28. Was it? Beyond Crystal Avenue, was it, here in Derry, New Hampshire, of course. That does hire, was it, adults with disabilities. Was it more like
it's
make
not
work type
any
of
viable options for us, because the whole model of disabled employment doesn't work well with us.
It doesn't. It just never worked well with us with it because disability employment with it has been set up. With it after the massive influx of injured and severely disabled World War II veterans. To try to cope with all of them. Get them into with with it simple factory jobs and things like that. Which was fine. With it. But for those who had brain injuries, to take and to be in a more like a sheltered workshop environment that'll, just to have a place to go,
The thing is,
where they're not rotting at home.
we're intellectually capable, but we're not as we have difficulty with the social.
Yeah.
But you're putting us into some situation where we're underemployed, we're underusing
Yeah.
our talents. There is so much wasted talent, and people. Everybody's going to go.
Yeah. One of my
People
Asperger
are just they're talking about where are we going to get the STEM jobs? STEM jobs, STEM this, STEM that, and and there's nothing. There's no support system for adults on the spectrum who are naturally talented to some degree. I know it's a process, it's a stereotype, but
too was it.
that are attracted to STEM careers.
Yeah. Other were their idea, vocational rehabilitation. Want to know what the vocational rehabilitation idea of robotics is? I worked for 6 years for a small to mid-sized robotics company down in Chelmsford, Massachusetts, where I was not on the production floor. I was in the engineering department, the engineering lab. I was helping to run it, to assisting engineers in designing and building prototype robotic equipment that was transitioned into production, that was eventually built and sold to the integrated circuit manufacturers in East Asia, and the customers like Hitachi, Toshiba, Texas Instruments, American Micro Devices, Intel, Foxconn, and the whole 9 yards like that. But Voc Rehab's idea for me being in the field of robotics was they sent me to an address in Nashua on Daniel Webster, just off Daniel Webster Highway, to a place that rents out pretend toy robots, radio controlled robots, to entertain kids at birthday parties. And that was vocational rehabilitation's idea of robotics, engineering. And that was total bullshit.
I hear a lot of stories about that, even in Massachusetts, the vocational rehab.
Yeah, Mass rehab
not being terribly helpful for those with autism, ASD type 1 profiles.
And there was I do know quite a few non-verbal autistics who have very highly knowledgeable and technical skills. Who are not even being employed or utilized for the knowledge they have, even though they cannot communicate.
Well, they can't communicate verbally.
Cannot communicate verbally.
Because that was the point. That was the point raised in the book Neurotribes, that the label nonverbals doesn't mean that they can't communicate.
Yeah, we should was to get rid of labels like verbal, nonverbal, that call the whole darn thing autism spectrum. With it because with it labels in a way, with it Doug are with it problematic, and they can take with it, with it be a hindrance. Wouldn't you agree?
Pardon? What was the question?
Having labels, that
I don't know.
of course it does depend
I mean,
upon context.
You have to call something something. I mean, you can't. I know this opinion, the statement, semiotics doesn't fix the semantics doesn't fix the semiotics. And I mean, in other words, the change in the words doesn't always change the meaning. I've gotten kind of into hot water by saying that in the community, but I really think if you just labels are labels, the words change, but the actual meaning is not always. I mean, spoken language is an imperfect form,
Yeah,
and it's hard to identify something exactly.
yeah. Also, the one thing I noticed as a person who's both on the autism spectrum and on the cerebral palsy physical disability spectrum is that there are many people who seem to be rather condescending and rather with it, and so assume that I have an intellectual disability.
I have a slight speech impediment, and I lately have become kind of self-conscious about it. And it's kind of one of the reasons why I haven't been YouTubing, because every time I go to my videos, I just cringe.
Back in,
And
back
that's
in
I mean, that's a self-acceptance issue, and I think that people out there, and no matter how you have your bad days and good days, as far as where you sit, as far as how solid you stand on self-acceptance, but
yeah,
uh, uh, I know I'm different. Um, but am I less than?
and also I have days where you maybe see me talking right now, but there are days when I'm non-verbal, there was a several days ago, I wasn't really verbal when I was trying to do was with draw was it scribbling down, was it electromagnetic field equations, was it on my whiteboard here. There are times when I'm when was it I get too many things coming in, and was it I've got to take, was it shut off something in order to keep myself going. And the first thing I shut off is my voice.
Yeah, when I'm filming myself, I'm trying to keep this camera going, focus on what I'm saying, and then think about when I'm delivering lines, how this is going to be cut back, put together in the edit, and that kind of multitasking, I just shut down.
Yeah.
Something's got to give. Most times,
Yeah.
there's a reason why I'm the king of the jump cut on YouTube, because my verbal shuts down when I start looking at the screen, seeing it, the meter change or something change on the flip screen of my camera. I can't. That's what I'm focusing on. Like, oh my God, the image is gonna come out terrible, and I'll go to chase that rabbit hole than actually, entertain people. That's why I don't do a lot of live streaming unless I'm doing it with somebody else.
Yeah, and of course with my brain is while I'm talking to you with so my focus with it is like You know that and all the things that have the same was it like interrupt priority. Okay, my for example, my teddy bear Howard Hug. You know,
Here's
as
a
a
guy back.
priority. Yeah, Mr. Howard Hug. You know
Get
that,
some ear scritches.
or was it I see up the, or I notice up in the, you know that the up on top of my the high boy, or was it on my dresser, you know, as if, which I use as a storage for books and DVDs and stuff, you know, other stuff. My brother Nate uh, recently was down at the Museum of Transportation, the Boston Museum of Transportation. He got me a 1/18 scale was it die cast model, you know, with it, you know, with it for my collection. You know, I had to get rid of a lot of my collection, you know, with it. Most of my collections, you know, with it, because things that I like to collect because I had things downsized more than, you know, to have everything to be able to fit in this smaller room, smaller bedroom, which is my safe space. And of course, every single autistic and Aspie has to have a safe space, you know, where they can go just to be away from everybody and.
Well, if not that, finding the tribe where
Yeah,
they can let down their guard, take the mask off.
yeah, take the mask off. That's right. You know that take the mask off and be ourselves. You know, like you know that I do things like with it. I'll watch my Japanese anime, was it online or I got some Japanese anime on DVD and watch old TV shows, cartoons. You know that still like at age 60, I still love to watch cartoons, and I miss it. And I miss the Saturday morning cartoons. You know, was it they got rid of them? You know, the major networks. You know that, and just put in like news and reality show type stuff. You know, and the things that I like. You know, that my collection of astronomy books. You know, science and astronomy. You know, which I have a better collection than the Kelly Library in my town of Salem. Well, my former town of Salem, that is. You know that, and of course with it out in the living room is where my brother and I we also have a lot of other books. You know, with it a huge collection of hardcover books on different subjects. And I have my computer space here. You know, with it where I can sit down. I can also with it do electronic CAD drafting drawing. You know, do some of that. You know, because I used to be an tech/engineer, and one of my skill sets is CAD drawing. You know, with it schematics, logic diagrams, and was it compiling those down into was it virtual hardware definition language. You know, that eventually gets compiled and actually burned into like programmable logic devices, or was it programmable gate arrays, or was it field programmable gate arrays, or FPGAs?
Gatorade or gate array?
Gate array.
I heard Gatorade like.
Yeah, the gate arrays. You know, which are logic chips. You know, that take the place of was a lot of the older discrete TTL and CMOS logic that there was with it. You know, like 20 years ago, 20 to 30 years ago.
I'm glad glad I moved the edit bay back downstairs. At least I can get some quiet. I'm not sitting the same. I'm not cutting YouTube videos in the living room on my laptop anymore.
Yeah.
It's just like I'm.
Of
Just too
course,
much
was
going
it
on at
I?
once.
Of course, was it I myself? Was it volunteer for the Derry, Derry, New Hampshire here? You know that the Derry's in-town cable TV public access channel, and I just was it a couple weeks ago. Was it my brother Nate dropped me off at the municipal building where I went down. The, got buzzed in down into the basement. To take and what Derry Community TV has its the in-town cable public access channel has its station and studio. And I went into the post-production editing room. Called up Adobe Premiere Elements 9. Of course, some of the computers are using Adobe Premiere Elements 11, and I just simply uploaded the footage, off of a DVD master tape, not DVD master tape, but a mini DV. And let me just show you what I use at the Derry Community Public Access TV.
Oh, now you talk about a special interest. Here we go.
Yeah, that's special. And as I said, video production is a special.
Post-production's my game. Post-production.
But I do everything from produce to
Post is my jam.
And of course, this is a old. It's now old, obsolete 100x digital zoom. Was it 20x optical zoom? Was it Canon model GL2 3CCD ProCam? It shoots in. It's not a high definition camera. It shoots in high quality with it NTSC 525 line with it 30 frames per second or 60 fields per second. With it video.
30 frames a second. Sorry, I'm a frame rate snob.
Yeah.
I film in 24 because I want that cinematic look.
Yeah.
I know you're going for something completely different.
Yeah. And of course I've taken this. I used to have a few of my own cameras.
Sorry.
I used to have a few of my own cameras, that I've actually run into the ground, and essentially used them until they permanently broke on me, and they were 8mm and high 8 in high 8 format 8mm format NTSC cameras. Then with it, that Derry Community TV allows me to have unlimited use of one of their old obsolete cameras, because they're not Derry Community TV is now using the high def cameras.
Okay, are these the Sony C100s, or because I know that Shrewsbury's got a bunch of C100 Mark IIs.
Yeah, they're essentially almost the same camera, between Sony and this is of course a Canon.
I don't know. I mean, the C100 has a full Super 35 sensor on it. I mean,
yeah,
that's a nice image.
Yeah. Then they go out and shoot video, You know that, and then get back to the studio where I just simply was it spool the video I shot on with a mini DV tape, which is now obsolete, and shoot it to the and with it upload it into the editor.
Hard.
Yeah, once it's up into the editor, then I do whatever editing I need to take and do. Because the last video program I just did, a couple weeks ago, I finally got back to the studio to take and upload and edit the video footage I shot this past July of this year's Americans with Disabilities Act celebration and community resources fair that was held in downtown Boston at the Boston City Hall Plaza. So
Have you seen DaVinci Resolve? Have you worked with this?
I haven't worked with a program like that, but I primarily worked with Adobe Premiere Elements.
This is Resolve is free.
Yeah.
And the color correction stuff is used on practically every major Hollywood movie for the past 15 years.
Yeah.
It's beautiful software.
Yeah. I should look into it.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty easy to use. I mean, you got the timeline here with all typical, and you get this just
before I was using Adobe Premiere Elements. They had a older system. Which used a Sun Spark. Was it workstation? Sun Microsystems workstation.
Did you say Sun Microsystems?
Sun Microsystems.
I worked for Sun Microsystems
for a time. The graphic workstation.
Yeah.
And then it had the VHS decks, to spool video in. Coming off regular SMPTE type E U-matic, was 16 millimeter, VHS. It did used to also have they also used to have a beta was it Betamax was it format, VCR, to take and spool video into the graphic workstation.
First time I saw a digital editing system.
And then what you had to take and do afterwards you had to spool from the graphic workstation onto a VHS tape. Which took a while. Of course, when you're spooling the video, spooling off the camera or off the this does have the older IEEE 1394 Firewire. The Firewire on this camera is burned out. The Firewire interface, burned out with it, so they have it set up at their community public access TV at the municipal building downtown. editing computers was it hooked up via firewire to a to was it a little small was it was it flip screen LCD flip screen was it the VCRs,
Mm-hmm.
little portable ones that like this part like that, you just with it pop open the pop open the tape carriage, and just with it drop the tape in, close the tape carriage, was it not off you go. And of course you have to spool the video footage off the tape in real time. So if you was to shot 2 hours of video, you got
It takes 2 hours to ingest, right?
2 hours to ingest, and then was it and the firewire was just simply was it
And I
storing every single frame.
wow. And I complain about 4K on an old MacBook.
Yeah.
I mean, I could do 4K on this 8-year-old,
And the
5-year laptop, but
and the computers that I'm using, with Derry Community Public Access TV, that whenever I get down to the studio, I'm trying to get down, up there with it more, is it, the memory capacity, the hard drive capacity is at least with like, half a terabyte,
God's play.
about a terabyte, is it for was it hard drive capacity?
This thing here is 2. No, this is this is a terabyte. The reason it was super expensive because it was a Thunderbolt connection.
Yeah. I do know now that with it, Doug, they have, was it the 128 gig, was it USB cards?
SD cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a few of those.
Well, USB, was it flash drives? When you're doing video, which is of course video of course is a special interest. Or regular still photography is another special
Yeah,
interest.
I do both. I'm a hybrid shooter. I do stills and video. I mean, I use a mirrorless DSLR.
Yeah. And of course, when I used to do still photography, I had one of those 110 Instamatics.
Yeah.
The little 110 cartridges, when that thing have developed, that was my first camera. Then of course was that I used to have a Polaroid, one that the instant, that had the, that worked like the Polaroid SX70. Well, one of its successors. Of course, Kodak tried to get into the instant photography business.
Yeah, I remember those.
That those instant, that.
I had one.
And of course, my brother Nate had one, too, with it. And with it, and of course, Polaroid sued the living daylights out of Kodak. While Polaroid and Kodak were with it fighting it out with it in the still photography was it business, so over instant photography, that the Japanese companies like Canon and
Nikon.
Sony and Chinon,
You're an old man.
Chinon and Nikon. What they did was they essentially took Kodak's original design for a 100% digital, digital was it, SLR, and they ran with it. And
Well, actually, I think Kodak had the first.
Kodak did the first digital camera,
Yeah.
and the first digital camera design, 100% digital, well, using JPEG format.
Ocean JPEG. Those are the days. I mean, I've been
JPEG,
around for so long that in college, first not digital editing system I saw was the Avid DS on a Mac, and you had to book time a month in advance to do work on it.
yeah. The many of those,
Avid, that was something.
yeah.
But I mean, the stuff we have nowadays is just—it's amazing what you could buy
Yeah.
for under $2,000.
Okay, let's
So
pause.
we're gonna wrap it up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's pause. Let's wrap it up. And say
Night,
bye.
night. Good night, everyone.